Hey guys, welcome back to the Badamasi Family YouTube channel. So today I wanted to kind of go back in my pregnancy journey and go over with you guys what I did once I found out I was pregnant. So some tips, best practices, some things I learned along the way, and what you kind of need to do and to not stress out once you find out you're pregnant. So I'll kind of tell you about my story. So first thing that when I found out I was pregnant was I didn't know that I was pregnant. We had been trying, so I knew that it was going to come, but I wasn't sure when we were exactly going to be getting pregnant. So I felt extremely tired. I was napping all the time. I had no idea why I was napping all the time. So everybody's symptoms is going to be extremely different. So some of my first two symptoms that I had was one was I missed my period, and the second was I was extremely tired and napping all the time. So I get my symptoms. Now I want to make sure and confirm if I'm pregnant. So of course I do the normal thing that every woman does is I took my pregnancy test. So the first time I took my pregnancy test, I was about 3 days late on my period. So it came back negative. So of course I was like, what the heck, what's happening? And then I waited a little bit longer and retook the test after I was 6 days late. And of course, the second time I took it, it came back positive. So if you do take your pregnancy test too early, it is gonna come back negative even if you're pregnant, just because your hormone levels haven't really changed in that short amount of time. So just wait a little bit longer. I would highly recommend at least waiting minimum of 6 days. If you can wait longer, that's great. But I waited about 6 days, and the second pregnancy test was normal. So after that whole ordeal that I went through, I went and made an appointment with my gynecologist. I just wanted to confirm that through a blood test or a urine test that I was in fact pregnant and all my hormone levels looked normal, and that I was on my way to a healthy pregnancy. So I went in, I did a urine test. You are able to do either a urine test or a blood test. So you can just kind of talk to your gynecologist and see which option you prefer. For me, I just did a urine test. That did come back positive that I was in fact pregnant. So I was ecstatic. And then after that, you pretty much, once you find out you're pregnant, you're just waiting. So at this point, there's really not much that you're able to do. So you want to make sure that you're just, eating right, you're exercising. I stayed away from chemical products. So for me, it was important that I wasn't doing a lot of like cleaning or inhaling Clorox and cleaning products. So this would be an opportunity to kind of partner up with your partner and see what he or she can help you with. So for my spouse, for my husband, he was helpful, and I didn't have to do as much of it. I did a little bit of light around the kitchen, but not too much of inhaling cleaning products. So you want to kind of refrain and stay away from that as much as you can. After that, you will start then your normal doctor appointments with your gynecologist. So you're not really going to be having anything as far as your gyno appointment until you're about 28 weeks along in your pregnancy. At least for me, that's what my gynecologist recommended. Once I was further along, then I went in about once a month. What I recommend in the meantime, once you are pregnant though, is you want to monitor that you still feel your pregnancy symptoms, that everything feels like it's flowing good for you. You're not having bleeding. I called my doctor for any symptom that I did have that made me feel uneasy. So you want to make sure that you're just kind of touching base with your doctor and saying, hey, I have this symptom or that symptom. But other than that, if you have a relatively healthy pregnancy, I had a very healthy pregnancy. So luckily for me, I was able to kind of cruise control until my delivery date. So you just want to kind of, each pregnancy is different. So for my experience, it was after the 28 weeks, I started going into my gynecologist, seeing her regularly. So up until you're further along, oh, I'm sorry, one more part that I did forget, your ultrasound. So once you're pregnant, you now are gonna have an ultrasound. You have two options. So your first option is gonna be at 10 weeks, as early as 10 weeks that you can do an ultrasound. And at that time, you can either have the option to find out the sex of your baby, or you are able to also do genetic testing. So if you kind of want to know if you are genetically prone to any diseases or anything like that, that your child is susceptible to, you are able to do that. we opted out of that option just because we had faith that everything was going to work out, and we were happy to kind of wait and see how our baby came out. But we were, we had a lot of faith that our baby was going to come out, and luckily he turned out very beautiful and very healthy. So it's really a personal choice if you decide to do the genetic testing. We just opted out of that option. So you are able, like I said, then to find out the sex of the baby also earlier. We waited until we were about 18 or 20 weeks along, and then did our ultrasound. And at that time, we find out how our baby was developing and also the sex of our baby. They were able to kind of tell us, and they gave us like a 3D ultrasound of the baby as well, which we loved, of course. So we waited about 18 to 20 weeks. Your doctor can kind of tell you if you're able to do it any sooner, but highly recommend at least waiting until you're about 18 weeks along. Okay, perfect. So in the meantime, while you're pregnant, until you start regularly going to your doctor up until your delivery, you want to make sure that you're taking your prenatal vitamins. I started my prenatal vitamins about almost a year, probably like 10 months before I was pregnant. So I took my prenatal vitamins. I took 2 fish oils a day. I took my vitamin D and my probiotic. Those were the main important ones that I felt that I wanted to consume during my pregnancy. If it's a planned pregnancy, start as soon as you can with your prenatal vitamins. If it's something that happened unexpectedly, you want to make sure that you're taking your prenatal vitamins right away, just because you want to make sure that your baby's getting all of those nutritions. Also, when you're pregnant, along with your prenatal vitamins, you are going to have to take a couple of vaccine shots. So one of the vaccine shots that you're going to do is, if you do decide to do it, everybody's different. We did want to do that. So one of them was the flu shot. I did take that. I think I was about 28 weeks, if I remember correctly, 28 or 33 weeks along. And then I took both of those. So the first one was the flu shot, like I said. The second one was the DAP vaccine. So those were the 2 vaccines that I took. And also they recommend that your partner takes them just because they're also going to be in close proximity to the baby. And so then those vaccines will obviously through your blood go to the baby as well. And so they do recommend that, but I know that some people are against vaccines. So it's a personal choice what options you kind of want to do. Okay, let me see. What did I forget? So those were pretty much the main important things that I kind of went through in my journey of finding out. Once I found out I was pregnant, the steps that I kind of took. After you're further along, I know that the last trimester, the last month that I was pregnant, you do go to your gynecologist a lot regularly. So the last month I was seeing my gynecologist about once every week, which is relatively common. After my 28 weeks, up until I was about 34, 35 weeks, I was seeing my gynecologist twice a week. So at that point, they just want to make sure that your baby's developing well and all those things. Oh, during those times, you're also going to take your, oh God, what is the word for it? It's a diabetes testing to make sure your sugar levels are normal. A glucose test, yes, it's going to be a glucose test. You are going to take that, I want to say when you're over 30 weeks. I'm not sure on the exact date. I did mine in the middle of the day. So I basically just fasted 1 hour before, and my sugar levels came a lot higher than I wanted them to come at. And I ended up having to retake the test in the morning when I had fasted. So to avoid all of that, I recommend just taking the morning of your glucose test, and obviously not eating and fasting beforehand, and you'll get a more accurate result the first time around versus kind of, doing it in the middle of the day and risking having to retake it anyway. So that was one thing that I would recommend. Let's see what else. Those are pretty much it. I think the other thing that I would recommend is, because I was a first-time parent, what I did is I Googled a lot of information and went through like WebID, like the web, like Google has the, what is it called? WebMD. And so for me, that was not helpful. It just created a lot of anxiety for me, where I was kind of looking up too much information. Then I would go back and bombard my husband and say, oh no, I read this, or I have to do this. So you want to kind of avoid a lot of that. If you have questions, I would recommend just writing them down. Then your next doctor appointment, you just kind of tell your doctor, hey, this is a concern that I have, this is what I was kind of thinking of, and they'll tell you accurately what to be concerned about, what to kind of monitor, and things like that. And it'll give you a lot more peace of mind than what I was kind of doing in the beginning. All right, I hope you guys found this video to be really helpful. I wish that somebody kind of had told me a lot of these common, like, very practical, common sense tips that I feel like were very helpful, or that are helpful now that I kind of went through the journey. So please go below, subscribe, give me a feedback, let me know what you guys thought of this video. Until next time, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.